Hi everyone, welcome back to the Functional Retirement Podcast. I'm your host, Thatcher Taylor. I'm the owner of ProPath Financial. I like to reach out to the community, get a little input on what's important to everyone, what's on their mind, what they're concerned about, maybe what are some things that they're currently experiencing. And I like to take some of those answers and build these podcast episodes. So first thing, if that's you, you have some things that you want to discuss, make sure to go to the show notes or the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit the email and shoot me an email of whatever is most important to you right now or what's weighing on your mind. And I most likely will make a podcast from it. So make sure to do that or at least make it into a Q&A session. This particular time, the second thing is a person sent back a comment to my question on what I should talk about. They said, when do annuities make sense, if ever? It's as simple as that. They didn't talk about their situation or what's going on. They just want to know, when do annuities make sense, if ever? So I hopped on it, and here we are. We're going to talk about annuities. The first portion of this is going to be what an annuity is. Then we're going to talk about a couple of use cases, and then we're going to talk about costs at the end. So annuities can be an important tool in the retirement toolbox. Again, a tool, not the whole house, a tool. They're contracts with an insurance company. And I need to make this clear in the discussion. For the majority of the discussion, we're going to assume that the cost of these contracts are adjusted appropriately. We're going to discuss them, at least for the first portion of the podcast, as a tool and in which cases you should use this tool. Then we're going to briefly touch on cost at the end. That's how we're going to do this. So the question becomes, when do annuities make sense? You first need to ask, what is your goal? Accumulation or income? Most people are in those phases in some capacity or another where they're either wanting to accumulate or they're trying to turn their accumulated assets into income. So first, we need to find out what the hell an annuity is. But first, I just want to say thank you to everyone for all the support. You're most likely either watching this on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Apple, Google, or you went to propathfinancial.com/podcast and you were able to read the blog and the supplemental audio and video there. So whichever place you listen to these, I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. This is in its infancy and it will continue to grow over time. And make sure to like and subscribe and comment on any one of the platforms or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so first, annuities. No two annuity types are the same. Some may be similar, but they are not the same. They're deferred annuities, they're immediate annuities, they're index annuities, they're fixed annuities, they're income annuities, and a bunch of nuance between all of those. Annuities, if they make sense, require a lot of due diligence and need to be compared and dissected on your annuity buying journey. Yes, you buy annuities. Just they're a product that have to be purchased through an agent. You have to get licenses. It's a whole thing. So you got to purchase an annuity, but we'll get back to that. First, I thought it would be interesting if we took a little trip down memory lane. Annuities remind me a little of my old football days. They're sort of like calling a play. Have you ever heard some of the play calls in the football world? Maybe you've seen some things on social media. It seems like a bunch of jargon, which it is, but each word in a football offensive play call has a very valuable tag to it. So the specific position understand what they're supposed to do. So in high school, it was simple, start off easy. It would be something like trips right 90, China pen, specific route structure, the protection, the formation. In college, it would be something like ace right 990, or it'd be blue right zoom 94. Be the formation, the call, the route scheme. Zoom would even instruct someone to go into motion. In the pros, which I never played, never got to the pros, full disclosure, I know that's surprising. An example of a call from the infamous John Gruden, he is known for complex play calls in the NFL. His would be green right X, shift to Viper right, 382 sticky looky. That is an unbelievable play call. Imagine being the quarterback and you get that called in through the microphone in the helmet and you got to relay that to the players without in the huddle without messing it up. Well, the funny thing is, each one of those words has a specific cue about its purpose or what type of play it is. Annuities are so similar, it's not even funny. Every annuity or version of annuity has its own label and tags. These labels and tags are going to be the foundation of today. So here's some examples. SPIA, SPIA, single premium immediate annuity. Sounds like a play call. DIA, DIA, deferred index annuity. FA, fixed annuity. FIA, fixed index annuities. DFA, deferred fixed annuities. VA, variable annuities. Now we're getting to a couple of really interesting ones, my favorites. The MYGA, MYGA, the multi-year guaranteed annuity. That sounds like a play call. The QLAC, QLAC, the qualified longevity annuity contract. There are probably more, but let's stop there. Now that we've taken the trip down memory lane, now that you've heard some of the words, some of these terms, and what's funny about these terms is those are the more general terms, but are pretty accurate. The companies that sell them are going to come up with more of a specific name for that term. They're going to title it, but that's for a whole nother day. What we're going to do is we're going to figure out what a lot of these words mean and how it affects you. There are segments or classes of annuities. Usually the first ones that people like to discuss are fixed and variable. Fixed annuities credit a little interest each year. The interest is usually fixed but can change. So let's just set an example as we move through these. What if you just took $100,000 and put it in an annuity, a fixed annuity? Just think in your mind you have $100,000, you're going to go put it in an annuity. Usually a fixed goes something like this. This annuity will pay X% per year. The insurance company is going to pool all the client's money that has been used to buy the fixed annuities into the insurance company's general account. The insurance company with a fixed annuity will invest those pooled funds for the company's potential benefit and client's benefit, but they'll contractually guarantee the return minus costs and fees. So that's a fixed annuity. On the other hand, a variable annuity will take your premiums and put them into what are called sub-accounts. You take your $100,000 and it's going to go into sub-accounts, as opposed to the general account of the insurance company like we did with the fixed annuity. Sub-accounts are just the underlying investments that you may choose from a base or a list of potential sub-accounts or investment options that relay the opportunity for you to achieve your strategy and goals, whether they're long-term growth or they're short-term based on equities or maybe they're bonds. There could be a variety of them, but you can change sub-accounts later. And sub-accounts is just kind of an annuity term or an insurance company term for basically a mutual fund of the insurance company. So you could have an S&P 500 sub-account, or you could have a corporate bond sub-account. So you can still build an investment type portfolio in a variable annuity. And the variability means the price could potentially fluctuate. Fixed annuities are more like bonds. That's what we're looking for less growth and more stability. Variable annuities are more like stocks or investments. And again, I say investments because there could be bond sub-accounts used as well as equity type sub-accounts used. So let's add another layer. Fixed annuities can be like I described with a fixed rate. In addition, a fixed annuity can be an income annuity where you just give your money over and you get a guaranteed income for a period of time or the remainder of your life. Little Easter egg, this is also an immediate method of annuitization, but we'll come back to that. An indexed annuity is also a type of fixed annuity. An indexed annuity will give you credits based on the performance of an underlying index, so not sub-accounts, and that index will be attached to a particular annuity, maybe an S&P 500 indexed annuity. This sounds a lot like a variable annuity. It sort of is, but it differs in that you just get credits to your balance based on the performance of the index that is attached to annuity, Whereas a variable annuity has the previously mentioned subaccounts. An indexed annuity can use a major selling point of limiting your loss. This is a big differentiator between an indexed annuity and a variable annuity, but an indexed annuity is technically a fixed annuity. A fixed annuity can have an accumulation component, with the fixed and indexed versions being the big accumulator. And then the variable annuity obviously uses subaccounts as accumulation. The option for long-term growth and tax deferral are big elements of annuities, but we'll come back to that. An even more recent development are structured annuities that behave a lot like indexed annuities, but which can experience losses. These are technically a type of variable annuity, and they go by many names, including buffered annuities, variable index annuities, or registered index linked annuities. There's some more of those football plays that we're calling. Finally, variable annuities could include subaccount options that provide fixed returns in the same manner as a fixed annuity, but the distinction that variable annuities position the assets in investment subaccounts, unlike fixed annuities that hold them as part of the insurance company's pooled general account. You're starting to already see, as I describe this, the layers. It's literally like an onion. As you start peeling the layers of the onion, you are doing the same thing when you start peeling off the layers of an annuity. So, quick sidebar. Remember through all this, insurance companies are in business to make money. They need to abide by the contractual agreements that they're in business to make money. So all these annuities have rules and guidelines that you must follow. High costs, potentially, commissions, and they use your money to generate revenue for the company. You must play by the rules to make sure these function properly. So when you're going into annuity, going into the potential of using an annuity, you can't just think it's a set it and forget it type method. You need to continue to monitor the product. Okay, now there's another way to classify annuities: immediate or deferred. These two versions of annuities have certain characteristics, and the main one is the taxability of the immediate or deferred annuity. Just think about the words. An immediate annuity or deferred means that in the immediate annuity, something's going to happen right now. The deferred annuity is something's going to happen now and later. I'm going to take a little excerpt from Wade Pfau, his retirement planning guidebook. He's an annuity and insurance subject matter expert. Here's what he says in his book, The Retirement Planning Guidebook. Formally, the classification of immediate or deferred is not related to when guaranteed income begins, but rather to when the act of annuitization takes place. Some deferred annuities could provide income immediately through structured lifetime payments, while some immediate annuities may defer income payments. For the former, the variable annuities and index annuities with income riders that we discuss are both types of deferred annuities, even if guaranteed distributions start immediately. The reason they are still called deferred annuities in this case is that technically the contract does not annuitize unless the contract value of the underlying assets has fallen to zero. An example of this would be a deferred immediate annuity where the payments start a year or so later. That's a very interesting excerpt. Say that $100,000 example that we discussed before. An immediate annuity, if you take $100,000 and you immediately annuitize it, you can assume that your $100,000 in most cases is gone. There are some riders and some other options that you may utilize to be able to get your money back. But in general, you're given the insurance $100,000 is going to the pooled account, and they're promising to pay you a certain amount of income based on a certain period of time. So a deferred immediate annuity means you might take your $100,000, you will have a balance for a little period of time, and then it goes to zero and you start annuitizing the contract or receiving the income. With all that being said, in general, when you hear deferred annuities, you most likely will have your premium or premiums being paid actively happening for years before something changes, like an annuitization, where you take your $100,000 and if it's in an index annuity, you're going to get credits, or if it's in a variable annuity, you're going to get growth based on the underlying investment. So it could be something completely different based on the annuity structure. Immediate annuities usually have an annuitization, kind of like I mentioned, or income start immediately. It'll be something to effect if I give the insurance company $100,000 and they guarantee monthly income for the remainder of my life. Boom, contract, agreement. Just make sure the insurance company has enough assets and it's a good company. They're going to be able to pay out for the remainder of your life. The term for this, let's do a play call. Huddle, huddle, huddle. Everyone get together. Here we go. The term for this would be a single premium immediate annuity. Ready, break. Okay, let's review. There's fixed versus variable, immediate or deferred, accumulation or income, tax now, tax later, credit to sub-accounts. You can see how this can be complex. One thing we should discuss briefly is the taxation. The taxation depends a lot on the account type. We'll discuss this more in a little bit, but you can have an annuity in a taxable account, which is a non-qualified annuity, where it's just in a regular non-qualified state. It can be in an IRA or a tax-deferred state. It can also be in a Roth IRA or potentially tax-free state. The value of the annuity is in any one of those structures, whatever happens in that year within the annuity is deferred until a later date. So let's just table that for a minute and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. In my mind, there are two really big use cases for annuities. Other people might discuss other use cases, but these are the two big ones that a person's going to find the most value in an annuity. Number one is income in retirement. You use the pooling of assets, usually billions of dollars worth of pooled assets. Depending on how big the insurance company is, you're going to have billions of dollars pooled together, and those billions of dollars are going to have a promise that you're going to ensure that you're going to get consistent income in retirement. An income annuity is on the other side of the fence of using bonds as income and can be in the decision of, should I use bonds or an annuity for income in retirement? Going even deeper, a bond ladder would be the method chosen by retirees and advisors traditionally. You buy bonds with differing maturities or different interest rates, and as they mature, their respective maturing year, that bond matures, you get the original investment back, and you use that for consistent income. So you would ladder them out over years to retirement. An annuity is an alternative to that. The second use case is accumulation and tax deferral, like a variable annuity, for example. The sub-accounts that act like mutual funds, these investments can happen in a normal taxable brokerage account. So say you have the S&P 500 or you have some growth mutual fund. Let's do that. Let's take the S&P 500 and put that to the side. Think you have a growth mutual fund where the fund managers are trading the underlying securities within the mutual fund. If you're invested in that outside of an annuity, any activity that happens in that year, dividends or capital gains, will be subject to you in that year. If you use the variable annuity sub-account that could be a growth sub-account, anything that happens in that year in the sub-account, which could be similar activity to the regular mutual fund, will be tax deferred. You will not have to worry about the taxation of that until a later date. Maybe you're in a lower tax bracket. Even a fixed annuity can offer small fixed returns that can be deferred to a later date. But a variable annuity, you are deferring, and this is extremely valuable for people with high incomes, where you're putting money here and you're deferring it to a later date where you might be in a lower tax bracket. So this is the first Easter egg in asking the question, when do annuities make sense? You need to first ask, what is your goal? Accumulation or income? All right, so let's take a collective sigh of relief for a second. That we're kind of done with the background of annuities. What I mentioned was just surface level and the tip of the iceberg. We have more to come here, but do know they're very complex. Have I said that enough? I probably said that like 37 times already, but I digress. But what I say next, I didn't want it to be the first time you've heard of some of these terms. I needed to say some of these words and put a little context around them. So what I say next makes more sense. Also, I hope that the initial education was enough to get you to start asking more questions about the viability of annuity in your life. So when you run across someone talking about annuity, your ears perk up a little bit. Hey, And knucklehead Thatcher, ProPath Financial, told me I need to maybe take a double look at this. So you're welcome if that's the case. So let's focus on income first, not accumulation, income. I mentioned my favorite use case is an income annuity, like a SPIA, a single premium immediate annuity, to generate retirement income for either a fixed period of time or a lifetime. You basically are creating your own pension. The insurance company uses the risk pooling that I mentioned before and mortality credits as the generators of value in an income annuity. Wade Pfau goes even a little bit further to describe it like this, which is perfect. He nails it. The annuitant accepts the risk of dying early and receiving fewer payments from the annuity in exchange for the ability to continue receiving payments no matter how long one ends up living. That's the gamble. You pass away early, you may not get your money back because you annuitize that $100,000 or $1,000,000 or whatever it is. But if you live past a certain age, you're making a ton of money because you're getting consistent income far beyond what you initially annuitized. By pooling longevity risk, which longevity risk is the risk of outliving your money, with a collection of individuals, an income annuity allows its owners to earmark assets by only needing to fund retirement as though they will earn fixed income returns and live to their life expectancy. Here's a big element of this phrase that I want, or this paragraph that I want to discuss. Those who live beyond their life expectancy will have their continuing benefits subsidized by those who die before life expectancy. I say this all the time. You can go to any one of my social media pages. I talk a lot about health and your quality of health in retirement, your health span and your lifespan. If you're utilizing an annuity, your health matters. If you think you're going to pass away early, you better set up the proper annuitization timeline for the money that you're going to be receiving. If you're young and healthy and you think you're going to live longer, they're going to structure this a little bit differently. So let me repeat that one more time. Those who live beyond their life expectancy will have their continuing benefits subsidized by those who die before life expectancy. Health is an investment. If you want to make money from an annuity, you live longer. There you go. You see the game we play? Annuities. Annuities. Especially income annuities, they're a gamble. You got to make sure you get what is most valuable based on your life and your goals. Another analogy for annuities is a car. How many upgraded features do you want to pay for? There are a variety of elements that can come with this product. First is the payout structure. So we're still talking about those fixed annuities. They can be the payout structure. So say the $100,000, you're 65 and you want to annuitize. They're going to figure out what's going to be best for you based on how you're going to receive these payments. It could be for a fixed period, say 10, 20, 30 years. A fixed amount, say $400. I want $400 for as long as I can get it. There could be a whole life option where they're just going to pay you for as long as you live. There could be your life and a spouse's life. Sometimes some of these will only pay out on your life. A period certain, they will pay the estate even if you die. So say it's a 30-year period certain payment and you die in 20, the estate will still get paid for 10 years. There could be a big lump sum. That's not really in our particular case, but a lump sum could happen. There's a death benefit option, and each one of these options have a different amount that you receive. Where a death benefit option could be you're going to get paid X amount, but if you pass away, you're going to get back a little bit of your original annuitized amount. Other options that can be used are beneficiary protections, where you get the potential of leaving your assets to beneficiaries, but that's less than mortality credit. So if you do that, you're going to get paid a little bit less. They just keep piling up the trade-offs within this contract. Now, you just got to choose which one makes sense. Because again, if it's the right one, you can really come out ahead. Another option basically for annuities is the cost of living adjustment. Are you going to get a cost of living adjustment? That's kind of a rider. This takes your annuity payments from fixed to growing over time. But again, that's more cost. So here's an example. The pricing of an income annuity is typically described using either the monthly income amount it generates or as the annual payout rate of the income received as a percentage of the premium amount. For instance, an income annuity might offer $481 per month for a $100,000 premium. For 12 months, that sums up to $5,780, which is 5.78% of the initial premium amount. The annuity payout rate is 5.78%. After aligning with assumptions about how spending may grow with inflation, this payout rate is directly comparable to a sustainable withdrawal rate from initial retirement date assets. That's how you would essentially describe an income annuity. The complexity, it just blows my mind sometimes that they just sit around a conference table and build these out. You need a clear understanding of your circumstances, goals, and someone usually unbiased, like a fee-only advisor that doesn't get paid off any annuity recommendations to help you through this decision. Oh, yeah, that's me. So if you're ever curious or you run across annuities, you have any questions, please let me know. There's an email below. You can reach me at any time. So let's move to variable annuities. We just talked a lot about fixed annuities, but let's talk about variable annuities. Variable annuities allow investors to add lump sum or premiums over a period of time. So this is the second big use case. You can add a big chunk up front, or you can add big chunks over time. The money is invested in the sub-accounts and hopes you invest properly and the amount invested grows. Just like any investment account out there outside of the annuity space, like I discussed above, or prior to this, I should say. Variable annuities have opportunity for long-term growth. They're potentially a good way to put money in a place for more tax deferral on a year-to-year basis. The high income earner. You could put more money in a taxable brokerage account, which is fine. I love that. I love taxable brokerage accounts, and maybe that makes sense as well. But if you put money in those accounts, you may have some taxation from a year-to-year basis if you're not planning and structuring them properly. An annuity can help defer that to a later date when maybe you're in a lower income tax bracket. The sub-accounts could achieve the growth you need, but make sure to choose the right ones. So if this is a potential situation, you need to weigh whether this is more valuable after the cost of the annuities, surrender fees, etc. If it's more valuable to put it in the annuity for the deferral, or is it more valuable to just have that money in a taxable brokerage account and just pay the taxes on it, because you're going to get freedom, flexibility, the investment universe, and you're going to pay a lot less in fees. That's the trade-off with the variable annuities. Like I mentioned, the fixed annuities is the trade-off with the bonds. The variable annuity trade-off is with the taxable brokerage account or the traditional investment methodology in IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now that we've discussed use cases, let's discuss fees. I know. I said I'm not going to talk a ton about fees, but we have to. We have to at least mention these fees. Providing a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit in the case of a guaranteed income annuity is a risky endeavor for the insurance company. The insurance company is obligated to provide lifetime income payments at the guaranteed level if the underlying assets held within the annuity have been depleted. They have to pay out even past the original amount of money you put in if you live a long time. Variable annuities with living benefits, now we're talking about variable annuities, require managing market risk in addition to longevity risk. For fixed income annuities, because of principal protection, the rider fees for living benefits only need to manage longevity risk. And longevity risk, the risk is about living your money. The greater the investment volatility and the higher the guaranteed withdrawals that the insurance company allows, the greater the cost for creating a risk management framework to support that guarantee. When people mention annuities have high fees, they generally have variable annuities in mind. Deferred variable annuities generally have several types of ongoing fees. The first relate to the underlying fund's expenses. That's the sub-accounts that would be included with any mutual fund investment. So the sub-accounts cost money on an annual basis. The only issue to consider here is whether the funds within the sub-accounts have elevated fees due to the inclusion of 12b1 fees in their expense ratio. So a mutual fund could be 85 basis points or 0.85% a year in a regular investment account, but maybe these are 90 basis points or 0.9% because of additional 12b1 fees. And whether investment options available to the individual outside the variable annuity also include 12b1 fees. So you got to check your mutual funds outside. These funds are charged on the contract value. The fees are charged on the contract value, excuse me. So you need to make sure that you understand the additional fees. The second type of fee relates to mortality and expense charges for the insurance company. These fees help to support the risk pooling and business costs of the insurance company as well as a basic annuity death benefit. These fees are also generally charged on the contract value. So you got the expense ratios for the sub accounts and potentially 12b1 fees. Then you got mortality and expense charges that are going to be in the annuity. The third type of fee that may exist in the short run are contingent deferred sales charges, which you might have to pay for, or surrender charges, which we're going to talk about in a second, for those seeking non-lifetime distributions above the allowed levels in the early years of the contract. So if you invest $100,000 in a variable annuity and you want to take your money out in a few years, a lot of times you're going to get less than what you originally put in because there's going to be a surrender charge. This is what people talk about when your annuity is locked up. On an immediate annuity that you've turned into income, your $100,000 is essentially gone, but they promise to pay you an income as long as you live. A variable annuity, you got to keep your money in there because you try to withdraw it early, they're going to withhold some of it. That's called a surrender charge. And sometimes a surrender period of time could be 7 or 10 years. Deferred annuities are liquid in that they may be surrendered with the contract value return as an excess distribution above the guaranteed distribution level. But in the early years of the contract, surrender charges may limit the portion that can be returned without paying a fee. For instance, surrender charges could work on a sliding scale, starting at 7% in the first year and then gradually reducing by 1% a year down to zero after the 7th year that the annuity is held. So you have the surrender charge. As long as you don't touch it, you usually can avoid that. But you still have the other charges, the expense charges, and the annual expense ratios on the sub accounts. The contract value will be fully liquid in all subsequent years, and let's hope that they've grown and you get to keep some of that return as well based on the sub accounts. With these various fees, it is possible that the total variable annuity fees could add up to more than 3%. That's not an exaggeration. This, along with surrender charges, how variable annuities have developed their reputation for being high cost. Then if you're using some sort of financial planner or advisor that's paying an expense ratio on your assets, and then you're paying this, that's a lot of fees. No, you're wrong. I think you should pay your advisor. I think advisors do a lot of good work and they should not be putting out cheap costs for clients. A good advisor that does a good job and good financial planning should be able to charge what they're worth. But to sell a product, an annuity that doesn't in all cases have any discernible advantage than just a traditional investment account, that's where the reputation is very, very poor. Fixed annuities generally have far lower fees and are built within the product. The cost is kind of what you get. It's all built in based on how much income you receive. So lastly, let's talk about index annuities. Beside a lot of the costs that were just mentioned in a variable annuity, an index annuity will pronounce guaranteed downside protection and all the upside limitations, which becomes moot if you just stay invested in a traditional investment portfolio. So let's say you're in a traditional investment portfolio and there's a lot of volatility. Price goes up, price goes down over 10 years. But over those 10 years, you average 12%. You just needed to weather being able to log in and see a lower balance. You didn't need to pay any extra fees because what an indexed annuity will do is say, if you invest $100,000, if the market plummets, you still have $100,000. But if the market booms 15%, you only get to keep 10% of that 15%, and the insurance company keeps the other 5%. That's another cost that's kind of hidden in there, where if you can handle just a traditional investment methodology, because the index annuities, their return is going to be based on a lot of things that are very similar. They got more complex trading algorithms, and they sometimes use some options at the insurance company. But in general, if you just wait long enough, the volatility in the marketplace works itself out, and you don't need to worry about that floor on the index annuity. So more hidden costs. So the question becomes, if I put X into a variable annuity or fixed annuity for whatever purpose, will that provide me with more or less than what traditional investing methods will provide? That's the question. If I put X into a variable or fixed annuity for whatever purpose based on your goals, will that provide me with more or less than just traditional investing methods? That's the question that needs to be weighed and answered. That's the main question. I mean, tax deferral can happen in retirement accounts anyway. Taxable accounts are partially tax deferred on the money you contribute. That's called your basis. And if you manage them on a year-to-year basis properly, you're going to have very minimal tax ramifications. The only fees in investment accounts are based on what investment you choose. I've talked a lot about mutual funds, but ETFs or low-cost index funds are phenomenal ways to build wealth. Then you got to mitigate advisor fees. You're paying annuity fees, you're paying investment fees, you're paying advisor fees. So you really got to make sure what you're doing makes sense. This is one of the biggest questions in the investment universe. How can we make sure we're buying the proper investments for the proper purpose? I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, please reach out to me below. Please go, if you're on YouTube, go into the comments and tell me what you think. If you're on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, make sure to like and subscribe. Please give me a review as well. Let me know so I continue to grow the channel. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening.